Maybe, does that fix my feedback?
That sounds bad.
Okay. All right, we're
Like,
gonna
I'm like
get this
crafting over here. I'm not a crafter, but I got started on.
Hello. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining with us because this is such an important topic that we are going to be covering today. And I know we were saying earlier, and we tried to do some testing earlier, but we're going to get this worked out, I promise you guys, because we're going to start doing this, these lives. So we're on Instagram, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and under Covered in Pet Hair. And we're going to do these every Monday. So if you are joining in, feel free to ask us questions. But we will have a topic. Hello, hello. So we have some different backgrounds, different perspectives. Hello, hello. Thank you all so much for joining us. So glad you're here because I feel like this happens like almost every year, but this year seems to be a little bit worse, where like the media is just all up in our heads with, oh my gosh, your dog is gonna die. We don't need this in our lives.
Nobody needs that kind of drama in their life. No.
Right.
No.
Hello, hello. I don't know if it's Jay or Adrian. I never know when it's like the two crazy cat ladies. I don't know if it's Jay or Adrian, and then like the BK Pets will join, and I'm like, I think that's Kinsey, but let me know who you are that's actually joining us so I can appropriately call you out. But okay, this mysterious dog illness. First of all, Isabel, let's tell everybody who you are, just in case they don't know.
All right. I'm Isabel Alvarez Arata. I'm the host of Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio and here on YouTube, for those of you joining here on YouTube. But I'm a journalist and writer, and I am... Hi, Jay!
Adrian doesn't know how to use Instagram. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Hi, Jay. We're happy whomever joins us from your neck of the woods. We're always happy to see you. But I'm a writer and journalist specializing in the pet industry. I've been in the pet industry since 2008. I used to run a pet sitting dog walking business in Northern Virginia until the pandemic. And so that's why I'm excited to talk about this mysterious dog illness, because it's kind of my expertise, you know, promoting the benefits of in-home pet care, especially under these circumstances. That's kind of where I live. So I'm excited to be here.
Yay! And in case you don't know me, if you're watching from the Covered in Pet Hair streams, my name is Jessica Fisher. I am a certified professional canine nutritionist, certified holistic pet health coach, positive reinforcement dog trainer, and I host the podcast, The Pet Parenting Reset, and co-host Pet Health Junkies podcast. So many things. But I'm gonna hopefully bring a little bit of clarity to some things. Hello, hello, Diane. Hopefully bring a little bit of clarity to some preventive measures that you can take with your dog, and a couple of tips and ideas for if your dog does start coughing, which, disclaimer right up front, if your dog starts coughing, do go to the vet. But we're still going to give you some tips.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Well, I want to start by saying that in my research, I found that the University of New Hampshire has identified this virus over a year ago. So this is not necessarily new. Like Jessica said, it's being picked up by the media, which is why it's making all the headlines. It's about a year old since they, confirmed their first case. And it seems to have started in the New Hampshire area, which is why the University of New Hampshire is involved.
Yes. And I think there are a couple things going on here. So I think there are always viruses, always. And yeah, viruses evolve. So we're going to find new viruses, right? But there are some veterinary researchers that have actually pinpointed this to a bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
And for lack of a better word, I was talking with Dr. Ruth Roberts this morning, and she referred to it as like a primordial bacteria. And They think that it could have possibly come from a dysbiotic gut. So a lot of dogs, well, not a lot of dogs, because really, I think it's being blown out of proportion because of the media, as we've already established, right? We get a slow news day somewhere, apparently in Oregon this time. We get a slow news day, and they're like, oh my gosh, all these dogs are getting sick, and we don't know why. And the reality is, dogs are getting sick.
Yes.
The reality also is, dogs are always getting sick. And this happens every year, just like it does with humans. And sadly, it can escalate in some dogs, and some dogs are getting pneumonia, and a handful of dogs have died. That's really sad. We never want to see that. On the other side of the coin, this happens all the time. It's not really anything new. So, Isabel, do you want to talk about like how we really need to take this as like the precautions we need to take, especially with like groomers boarding the things
Yeah.
in your neck of the woods?
Yes. So I guess the first thing we'll say is that it presents very similar to the kennel cough, but like Jessica said, it could be a bacteria. Kennel cough is a bacteria as well. It's Bordetella. So it's similar, and they are equating a lot of it to COVID-19, not that it's contagious to cats or humans, but that it's spread in similar ways. So kind of like the droplets that we saw and that we talked about ad nauseum during the pandemic. So very similar. The only difference between Bordetella and this mystery disease is that it's a wet cough. Like Jessica said, just to be on the safe side, any kind of coughing should be, a red flag. Maybe not even a trip to the vet, but a call to the vet to get their opinion on what next steps you need to take. That's basically it. Lethargy, loss of appetite, just like a general malaise that any pet would exhibit if they're not feeling well. That's something that you should keep an eye out for, especially if you have recently boarded your dog, taken them to a dog park, let them drink out of a communal water bowl. Why would you do that? And taken them to doggy daycare. So those are like your big, issues. Like if you recently boarded a dog over Thanksgiving, definitely be on higher alert than somebody who hasn't boarded their dog. It may not even be in your area yet. I know that I have a pet sitting friend who's in South Florida and Miami, and she just sent an email to all of her clients, and she explained that there are no confirmed cases in Miami, but there are in northern Florida. So it really is area specific. It's lifestyle specific. If you live in an urban environment, chances are your dog's going to be exposed more. But the only thing we can do is really work within the parameters that we have for our pets. I'm in a suburban area, so like my dog's not going to be exposed. I don't do dog parks. The groomer is a mobile groomer that comes to us. We don't do boarding. I'm huge about in-home pet care all the time, every day, every year. I will never, ever board my dogs. I'd rather cancel my trip because I have a very sensitive dog and she would not do well on boarding. She's older. Doggy daycare is something that I would maybe consider for a puppy. This 12-and-a-half-year-old dog has no interest in going to a doggy daycare. So for my lifestyle, my dog's lifestyle, this is not really a huge threat. However, if you live somewhere urban, if you have to board because I recognize, and I've lived in areas where there are no professional pet sitters, then of course this becomes more of a hot topic item or hot topic for you, right? Because then it really does potentially impact your life. Why anybody would let their dogs drink out of communal water bowls under any circumstances is beyond me. They're disgusting. There are so many fun and easy travel like water bottles for dogs now. I don't think it's necessary, but there are other things that are just kind of part of life. So you need to kind of weigh the risk benefit of boarding, maybe change your plans for the holidays. If you have a special needs dog, right? Like if you have a senior or a very young puppy or a dog that is fighting cancer, yeah, maybe this is not the best time to leave them at a boarding facility. But for your general average dog, it's not as terrifying as maybe it's being made out to be.
Yeah, maybe, right? Maybe, because the reality is with any virus, with any bacteria, we really want so the best defense is a good offense, and
Exactly.
making sure that your pet is healthy. And the foundation of health is good nutrition. So likely, if you talk to me or if you listen to me, I'm never, ever, ever not going to bring up food.
Yes, exactly. And like that's your best
Yes,
defense is food, nutrition for all of us. We all know
absolutely.
that.
Yes,
We all
yes,
know that about
absolutely.
ourselves. It's no different for our
Absolutely.
pets.
So if your body is chronically inflamed, if your dog's body is chronically inflamed, they're less likely to be able to do what the body is designed to do, and that is fight off invaders. So if your dog is being fed incredibly well, fresh food diet, they have a good, strong gut microbiome, really, really low inflammation in the body, they are much more um, they're going to be able to better handle and defend from any invaders in the body. So that is just like
Yeah.
foundational. And it can be hard in some circles to even talk about food because everybody wants to throw up the, well, I can only do so much. And I get that. Like, we all are just trying to do the best we can. Um, but when things like this come around and we do get scared, we do get worried, that is the absolute best thing that you can start doing for your pet. And we can talk about supplements in a minute, but you can't out supplement a bad diet. And to quote my friend Angela Ardolino, you can really fuck up a good diet with a bad supplement.
Yes, that's
So,
true.
um, but the number one thing we can do is to provide the best nutrition possible for our animals because that's how the body thrives. And whether we're talking about humans or dogs or cats or any other animal, on the planet, we're talking about plants and trees. Like I was listening to somebody the other day, and if you have an arborist come out because you have a bunch of dead leaves on a tree, they're not going to go look at those leaves first. They're going to test the soil. That's the first thing they're going to do because that's where the tree is getting its nutrients from.
True.
I mean, it's so like we know this. This is how we thrive is through a really nutritious diet, low inflammatory foods, and just really doing the absolute best we can. So that's the very, very first thing. And I also think that's an individualized approach, especially with all of the sensitivities so many dogs are having today. It's really sad. There are very few dogs that have true allergies, but lots of dogs have lots of sensitivities.
Yeah.
And so we want to address that individually. But so on the preventive side, and you probably will agree with me, Isabel, some of the best things we can do supplementally are going to be a really good probiotic because if this is, and it's looking like maybe it is a bacteria, we want, there's no, okay, we talk about good bacteria and bad bacteria, but the reality is they're all beneficial bacteria. It's just the levels and the amounts. Like we
Right.
all live with E. coli in our system. We just
Mm-hmm.
don't want a high level of it because then we're going to have symptoms of E. coli overgrowth, right? It's all yin and yang. We
Yep.
have to have the good for the bad to thrive as well. So even though we say good and bad, but having a really good probiotic on board and rotating, pulsing our supplements is also really great. I am the first one to say I'm going to do everything I possibly can with food therapy before I start with supplements. So my absolute favorite, hands down, probiotic in the whole entire world is going to be raw goat's milk for our dogs and cats. But we want to keep a good probiotic on board, because if this is a bacteria, which is looking like it is a bacteria that has just somehow decided in its evolution to target the lungs and has become aerosolized because of that. You know, if we have a really healthy, strong foundation of a microbiome in our gut, then these bacteria, you know, that are invading are going to kind of be squashed out by the quote good bacteria. Right. So having that like really good probiotic on board is going to be wonderful. And not to get too much off on a tangent, but we also can't, like I just said, you can't out supplement a bad diet. So even if, there is going to be benefit in using a probiotic, even if you are feeding a kibble diet, but you're probably not going to see the same benefit as if you were feeding a fresh food diet and adding a probiotic to a fresh food diet. Just because that kibble isn't feeding the bacteria that you're introducing to the gut in the same way that a fresh food diet is gonna feed the bacteria. So that's number one. And then full spectrum hemp extract. I think every mammal on the face of the planet, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, a full spectrum hemp extract is going to be absolutely wonderful at balancing out the endocannabinoid system, which is the master system of the body. And then the Breathe mushroom tincture from MycoDog is also going to be really wonderful at supporting the lungs specifically. So while there are tons of supplements that we can talk about, that's what I'm going to narrow it down to. A really wonderful probiotic, full spectrum hemp, and mushrooms. Those are going to be my like go-to for prevention. Do you have anything to add to that, Isabel?
I love MycoDog and I love CBD Dog Health, which is same company. I use the Calm, but this is a full spectrum CBD that has other benefits like anti-inflammatory. It feeds the endocannabinoid system, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what my nervous girl gets every day. She gets a couple extra doses if there's any kind of thing that's going to make her more anxious or fearful. And then I also love Alchemy Pet. They are basically just blends. They have different types of blends and they're adaptogens similar to MycoDog's mushroom adaptogens. These are all adaptogens. There are mushrooms, there are amino acids, there are antioxidants in here. It's really cool because the way that I interviewed the owner on my show, and the way he explained it is that these like Swiss geek scientists like figured out a way to encapsulate it and make it really bioavailable, but also just it's a spray that goes on the food. So it's not another powder to add. It's not going to make or break any diet that you have. It's just a way to boost and add a little something. It's 10 sprays. It actually goes a long way. So I love this stuff, and I love everything by CBD Dog Health and MycoDog. And then one thing that I always use with my old dogs is WinPro Pet. WinPro has an immunity formula. This is made of pork blood plasma. I asked if there was any that they could give us for humans because it's supposed to be so good, so anti-inflammatory. It helps with gut function. It helps with immunity. It helps with digestion. And this is an immunity blend. So it has marshmallow root and it has licorice root in it as well. So this is their specific blend for immunity. And I also use their pre and probiotic blend. And this has digestive enzymes in addition to the pork blood plasma. So plasma, this was discovered because there were baby pigs that were not doing well. They were not breastfeeding. They were separated from their moms for whatever reason. And they started using pork plasma to fatten them up and give them. So it's got all these nutrients that you would get from blood, obviously. And they've made it, then it went to like horses and horse racing. And then it went to performance dogs and like agility dogs. And they saw so much improvement. in, you know, the reducing the inflammation, reducing wear and tear on the body, and promoting just general healing. So I use this. I use their joint supplement for my old dog Titan, may he rest in peace. But now that I have a not so old dog who's not showing any joint issues yet, I use immunity and gut health, because I do think that, like Jessica said, gut health in our dogs is just so poor. And I don't do a raw food diet. I do kibble, and I do green juju freeze dried. So I mix that. I think that there's any benefit, anything you can add to kibble that is fresh and high quality, there's a huge benefit to that. So I do what I can within our budget, and then these things give me that extra peace of mind. And honestly, like, I don't give this every day. Like, I will do it now that I know that this is going around, but I don't necessarily need to do this every day if I'm doing the other things. The only thing that I do every day is the calm, just because I do believe she needs it just to navigate life. But I'm not at all concerned about this respiratory illness. Like, I really am not at all concerned. Like I said, my lifestyle doesn't really put us at risk like other people's might. My biggest concern for my audience, or for pet lovers everywhere, is actually the cost involved in dealing with this if your dog gets it. So, like, for me, I'd rather cancel my travel plans for Christmas than spend thousands upon thousands of dollars trying to cure my dog from this mystery illness when I returned. That is something I'm hearing from pet sitters, where the bacteria is present. New Jersey, one of my friends in New Jersey said that she's had a few pet clients come down with this illness, and it's weeks at the vet. It's weeks of treatment. It's expensive to have them recover. They recover, but nobody wants to have to deal with the expense, the stress, the unknowns. I saw an interview of a lady who was talking about her, looked older, like an older golden retriever, and it was 6 weeks, and the dog wasn't even well yet. You know what I mean? So that's a long recovery time. And that, to me, is the biggest thing that I think people need to remember, is that it's not just, no, your dog probably won't die, but what is it going to cost, and what is it going to look like to, bring them back to health? That could be a really big issue for you, for your family, for your budget, finances, for your pet who may be older, and it might take twice as long. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of how we see this play out every year anyway, whether or not we have this new virus or new bacteria and it does seem to be antibiotic resistant in some cases. A lot of veterinarians are saying they're just not finding an antibiotic that is working for it. So if your dog does develop a cough, of course you want to talk to your veterinarian. And if it is a wet cough, then we are more concerned, because, as Isabel was saying earlier, that it's presenting very much like kennel cough, but wet, and then escalating to pneumonia, escalating into these weeks in basically intensive care, right? At veterinarians' offices. And let me tell you, if your pet winds up in an ICU unit, I mean, within just a couple of days, you're looking at thousands of dollars. And so if we're looking at weeks, my gracious. So one thing, of course, we talked about the food. The food is so important. And even if your dog does get sick or does develop a cough, heaven forbid it's not this particular bacteria, but it's never too late to start feeding as much whole food, fresh food as we can. Because even starting right now today, we're going to be provided. It's like when you get sick, what do? You reach for, you start making chicken soup, right? Mm-hmm. Because your body right then needs those nutrients to do what it has to do to keep fighting. So let's onboard some really healthy, nutritious, like really, really nutrient dense foods, bone broths, and fresh organ meats, please. Let's get organ meats on
Yes.
board. Like, I don't care what your like squeamish factor is. Let's go to the, Asian market and let's get some organ meat.
Or you can
And you're done.
order organ meat treats from Bear's
Oh
Bites
yeah.
from our friend
Oh
Sam. She
yes.
does dehydrated and freeze-dried organ meat treats so that you can give them without thinking too much about it. Just always wash your hands after doing any of that, just because it is raw. It's just dehydrated or freeze-dried. But yeah, you any little bit of improvement that you can say, like today I'm going, especially because it's Cyber Monday. So Dr. Judy Morgan is, I believe, running some specials on her website. She has great specials. Like if you're on her mailing list or if you buy stuff, like randomly they'll send you like a 20% coupon and I buy my green juju there. And it really does help me save money on something that's a really high quality premium product. All of these CBD Dog Health, Myco Dog, Alchemy Pet, and WinPro are all running Cyber Monday specials. You don't need all of them. You can just do some of them, one of them. If you're going to do one thing, think about going to Dr. Judy Morgan's website and buying a probiotic, or buying some kind of freeze-dried food that you can add to your existing kibble. It doesn't have to be a huge, super expensive change. But the problem with waiting until your pet gets sick is that when they're sick, they may not have an appetite. Actually, this specific illness is showing as kind of like lethargy and decreased appetite followed by a cough. So if your dog's not hungry when they're sick, then it's a lot harder to get these interventions in there. But it's better to be proactive, like Jessica said, even if it's just a probiotic, even if it's just adding 25% of fresh food to your bowl. The Rodney Habib has done like all of that research where like 25% is all it takes to see a huge return on investment for your dog's health. So don't feel like you have to run out and spend all your money because you've already spent it on stuff. I know, I did too, all weekend. So don't worry about having to like, throw another credit card charge on there. But yeah, invest in something good so that you can be proactive. And if you're busy, then maybe, freeze-dried fruit is not for you, but a probiotic powder or a spray like Alchemy Pets with these adaptogen technology, like that might be a good boost. And it's what, $40 a month or something. Maybe you can afford that, and you're being proactive and not waiting until it's too late, especially if you have no choice but to board, have no choice but to like walk your dog where there's a ton of dogs. Nobody has to go to the dog park, so just avoid the dog park, not just for illness, but just because the dog park is a mess. Don't do dog parks.
Totally agree. But yeah, so a couple of things. One, we can do vitamin C. We can add in vitamin C, especially if you do think that your dog is feeling a little bit under the weather. You can start with, 50 milligrams and slowly titrate up until you reach what we call a bowel dose. So they're going to get like runny, yucky poop, and then, to back it down a little bit. And vitamin C is water soluble. So it's, you can literally just go down to your CVS and get ascorbic acid and vitamin C, and really, really inexpensive, and is really going to be beneficial at boosting their immune system. If you do feel like they're just feeling a little cruddy, that is something that you can do pretty easily, cheaply, effective. And then especially because we are seeing that this particular bacteria is having a lot of antibiotic resistance, one thing to talk to your vet about is oil of oregano. It is a natural antibiotic and generally works on everything because it's natural, because it's what nature has given us. So that can be very beneficial. Talk to your vet if you feel like it is bacterial, because your vet can instruct you on how to dose oil of oregano for your pet, and how to get it in them because it burns, baby. It burns, but it's very effective.
Yes. For those who are trying to shop for anything that you need, Revitalize Wellness is my favorite vitamin C vendor. They sell ascorbic acid. They also sell liposomal for humans. They make the best stuff and they have great sales. So it's revitalizedwellness.org, I think it is. And they have a ton of information about bowel tolerance for humans. When I was pregnant, I was taking 25,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C. And I didn't even pass gas because my body needed it, right? So if your dog is passing gas, then you're probably getting close to that bowel tolerance. But if they're not passing gas, they're using, every single one of our organs uses vitamin C to function. So if you're giving it a little bit and you don't see any gas coming from your dog, you can give a little bit more, you can give a little bit more. And the body is kind of, what I love about vitamin C is that the body tells you when it's had enough. And I think that that's a really good way of checking in with our pets' health, of kind of like learning how to read our pets and having that nonverbal communication about how they're feeling, because you're obviously listening or smelling that, you know, that response to the vitamin C that you're giving. So I love that you recommended vitamin C. I'm such a vitamin C fan.
Oh, I mean, if it's natural, give it to me, right? Well, of course, we said at the beginning, that's what I'm all about. And, you know, not that I think that we shouldn't use it. We absolutely should use antibiotics when they're necessary. But if we culture and we find that, you know, none of the antibiotics that your vet has on board is going to work, then why would we give any of it? It's not going to work. Right. And the thing to know when you do talk to your veterinarian about using oil of oregano, it is still a natural antibiotic. So you will still need to rebuild your gut, your dog's gut after you take. Just because it's natural doesn't mean that you're not going to get some side effects from it. It is going to kill everything. It's going to kill everything.
As it should. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, and so any more Cyber Monday deals? I know CBD Dog Health, that's my favorite. I think, I was gonna say, I think Earth Buddy is continuing theirs as well. And the reason that I bring that up is because, so Sean has a colostrum.
Yes, colostrum.
Yes, it has blueberry in it. So if your dog is sensitive to blueberries, which sadly I am seeing so many dogs sensitive to blueberries because every pet food on the planet is throwing them in because they're beautiful, wonderful superfoods. But we can get into that in another episode.
In pesticides, but okay.
Right? So as long as your dog is not sensitive to blueberries, then a colostrum is going to be wonderful for helping the gut heal and also boosting the immune system. So that could be something else you might be interested in. I'm pretty sure they're running a.
It's cow colostrum, right? It's bovine?
Yes, his is bovine. And
so
then
for
on
those
Dr.
who don't know what colostrum is, it's that liquid gold that is the first bit of milk that comes from a breastfeeding mother, breastfeeding cow, or whatever. So that is packed with stem cells. It's packed with probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, everything you can think of, nutrients galore, because it's the first meal that a calf or a baby are meant to have. So I don't know how they do it. They put it into a powder. They make it all magic, but it really has all these benefits that I kind of wish that we had, right? Like we can't have that, but I feel like I should have kept some, for myself. So yeah, I really agree. Like all of these things are great ways to just kind of boost the immune system. Maybe even you don't use it. If you can't afford it, you buy it, you keep it just in case, just on hand, in case you start noticing something. Because I get that everybody's budgets are different. The holidays are coming. It's a tough time to kind of be like splurging on this. But it is, if you do want to splurge on stuff and you want to, a lot of these things have like, this expires in 04/25 and I got it this summer. So a lot of stuff has a long shelf life. So if you can, kind of buy some, get a deal and store it, that's always a good idea too, especially if you have a multi-pet household where it does get expensive to, supplement everybody.
And if your dog is sensitive to beef, well, there's some thought that even if they have a sensitivity to a protein, that they may not be sensitive to the colostrum. You could still try it, but Dr. Judy has some goat colostrum on her website. And the thing is, I don't generally like, it's not my go-to recommendation, even though it's absolutely wonderful, because there are a lot of ethical concerns with it, and there just isn't enough to go around for everybody.
Yes, that's the problem.
So I'm very, very particular about which brands I recommend, because I only recommend brands that I believe are ethical
Right.
about collecting the colostrum and making sure that the babies get it first. So if you're doing your own research, that is definitely something you want to look into. But the other thing I really wanted to say is that even though, yes, we need to be very careful, and please don't board, don't go to dog parks, be very careful with, groomers. And as Isabel was saying, the communal water bowls, all the things, like, don't be in big groups of dogs. Don't bring your dog into big
Yes.
groups of dogs, but still get outside with your dog, still get your walks in. Like, don't hole up in your house just because this thing is out there. Your dog still needs, like, it is very healthy for your dog to have their paws touch the soil and to get out and get fresh air. Like, this fallacy that really that we have about, we all get sick because it's cold outside. We're not getting sick because it's cold outside. The cold is actually good for us.
Yes.
And for our dogs. The cold is good. The reason we get sick in the winter is because we have a candy holiday followed by a cookie holiday and a pie holiday and an alcohol holiday. And we're just like overwhelming our bodies with junk, and that's why we get sick.
Staying inside.
Really,
We're not
yes,
getting the
we're
vitamin
staying
D
inside.
we need straight from the source. Yeah, so much so. I completely agree.
Yes.
As a former professional dog walker, the best thing you can do, save your money, walk your dog. Like, literally just walk your dog. Take them out. Again, unless you're in an urban environment, but even in an urban environment, wake up a little bit earlier than the masses, go out a little bit later, just kind of time your walks a little more with more intention, I guess, because you can, kind of at least give yourself a little peace of mind. But I've always been a believer that if you have a pet, you need to have a dog walker or pet sitter, or both, ideally, on your phone. Like, it needs to be an established relationship. You need to be able to call them and have them keep an eye on your pet if you're going on a day trip, or come in and check on your pet while you're traveling. To me, having a professional pet sitter is like pet parenting 101 for me. And the vast majority, because I'm still involved in the pet sitting industry, the vast majority of professional pet sitters are super careful for humans and pets alike to not cross-contaminate, to wash hands, to make sure that they're not, exposing the next house with the germs from the house before. They've been intentional about that way before even COVID happened. So you're talking about professional pet sitters that know how to limit, the spread of these things. It's not the first time, we walk into places sometimes where there's a fleas and we have to address that before we go to the next place. Parvo can spread, so we're very cognizant about, like, what's on our shoes, what are we doing, how does the pet look, do I need to skip this house, go last because the pet has some kind of health issue going on. Professional pet sitters, when they're truly professional, have all of this down to a science. So if you can't walk your dog, try to find a pet sitter who can, a dog walker who can. My two recommendations, the only places I recommend you find a professional pet sitter or dog walker, are the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. That's petsitters.org online, and Pet Sitters International, which is petsit.com. And they both have zip code locators. You put in your zip code, you get a list of people. If you don't have a list of people, you're probably somewhere really rural. Unfortunately, you might have to walk that dog yourself. And if you are walking in the dark, now that it's getting darker, stock up on those anti-reflective, that gear that'll make sure that you're safe, your pet's safe. At Super Zoo, we saw a bunch of collars and things that you can put on your pet so that they can be seen in the dark. Get your flashlight, get out there and walk. There's nothing better for a dog's overall health, longevity, than a dog walk.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think we would be, even though this does appear to be non-zoonotic, meaning it's not, currently doesn't appear to infect species other than canines. So zoonotic would mean that it can transfer between species, between like dogs and humans and dogs and cats and things like that. But I, we're talking about Cyber Monday deals and we're talking about keeping your dogs healthy. Let's talk about keeping your cats healthy for a minute, because the Two Crazy Cat Ladies also have Cyber Monday deals going on. And
Yes.
one of my tips for not overdoing it with spending on supplements is that I rarely purchase a supplement that can't be used on both my dog and my cat. And I know everything on the Two Crazy Cat Lady site can be used on both dogs and cats, even though it is marketed for cats. When we talk about probiotics and fresh food, and I mean, yes, a cat diet is going to be a little more dense in certain nutrients like taurine than a dog diet, but you were talking about the green juju freeze-dried food that is actually formulated for both. Yes, both cats and dogs. So there's rarely anything that I buy that isn't good for both my dogs and cats. Colostrum is going to be really wonderful. Probiotics are going to be really wonderful. And the thing is, yes, dogs and cats do have various microbiomes. They do have a little bit of varied microbiomes because dogs are scavenger carnivores, whereas cats are obligate carnivores. So there is a little bit of a difference there, but really a lot of probiotics on the market, especially if you're using whole food probiotics like a raw goat's milk, that is going to be good for both your cats and dogs.
And they're going to love it.
Yes, the full spectrum hemp extract is going to be good for both cats and dogs. The Myco Dog, okay, they do have the products, Myco Cat, on the Two Crazy Cat Ladies website, but it's the same product in a cat label. So literally, like, you're going to be good, especially if we're talking about like whole food stuff.
Yes. And speaking of whole foods, the Two Crazy Cat Ladies are doing a free nutrition deep dive from December 4th to December 8th. So follow them so you can get your notifications. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to register. You just have to learn on ways that you can improve your cat's life, quality of life, energy levels, just happiness by improving their food. And they're interviewing experts in the field of feline nutrition. And I can't wait because I feed my cat only wet food. He gets canned wet 25% green juju beef. He loves it. He will literally eat it out of the container that I rehydrated in. He will just stand there and just pick it out because he loves it so much.
Yay.
Every time I take out that container, he knows what's happening. I love the green juju, the ease of using it for 2 pets. I love how I can rehydrate it. It lasts in the fridge for a few days. It makes feeding raw or feeding fresh so easy. And again, it doesn't have to be 100%. We do about 25% for him, 50% for Kira, and everybody's happy and healthy. So yeah, whatever you can do is good. And just learning, right? Even if you can't afford to make the changes now, just learning from experts like the Two Crazy Cat Ladies and Jessica, and, just kind of educating yourself helps you make better decisions once you can make those decisions, once you can invest a little bit more, or helps you choose, like Jessica does. She'll look at a product and say, no, I don't want this because of this ingredient, because this ingredient doesn't speak to me. And that alone is worth its weight in gold, because you can stop yourself from spending money on stuff that's really not going to, do what it says it's going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't waste your money. We all have that supplement graveyard that we all regret. Don't do it. If you haven't got there yet, don't do it. It's not necessary.
So many supplements in the morning. My mom says, please stop giving them supplements because they're already so energetic. Please stop. Just stop giving them all this stuff. And it's because my kids do not eat well. They really don't. They're so, like unpredictable. When they like something, you make it again and they hate it. And then I'm looking at their food and how much they're eating, and we cook whole foods at home, but they're just not into a lot of the stuff we eat. And I'm not going to lower my standards of food for them. So they get a lot of supplements. And if you have a finicky pet, you might have to turn to something like that too. But before you do that, try green juju. Because
Yes.
I can tell you that these animals here, they hear that bag, they see the box, they smell it from the outside,
Mhm.
and they're ready to chow down. So there are things that I'm sure Jessica, as a pet parent coach, can troubleshoot with you so that you can find something that your pet loves, enjoys eating, and is good for them. So don't just kind of say, I can't afford this and I'm out.
Yeah,
That's not
right.
that's not a
I
good
take
attitude to
I
have.
take a ton of supplements too. I'm not gonna because I do not eat organ meat. I do not eat organ meat. And I know like it's a lot of cultures do,
Yes.
right? A lot of cultures do. I just I have a child's palate and it's not gonna happen.
So you're
So
taking the same
I
chewables my
take
kids are taking. I'm just kidding.
I take
Just,
I take desiccated organ supplements from
yes.
Heart and Soil. Not sponsored or anything, but I mean, with all of these brands that we're
Yeah,
talking
none of
about,
these are sponsored.
these
We're
are
just
just our
sharing.
favorites. We're
Yeah.
just sharing because we love them, and actually use them. And yes, it's desiccated organs from cattle in New Zealand that are regeneratively farmed, grass-fed, grass-finished, and I just, that's where I feel, even though like I believe me, I eat, but that's where my nutrients come
Yeah.
from. Like the real bulk of my nutrients are coming
And it's like you
from,
said about the blueberries. Like, yeah, blueberries
yeah,
have all these great nutrients, but not the ones that are being put in kibble. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are
yeah,
covered in pesticides. They are not the clean 15. They
right.
are just not healthy for you. They probably have been grown in ways that have no true nutrition. So we think that we're eating an apple and it's good for us, but really what's in that apple anymore, unless you're buying like a really high quality apple. And I think somebody was asking, what's the brand
Yes.
name of the New Zealand
So,
product that you mentioned?
yeah, the supplements I take are Heart and Soil. And they actually do have a Cyber Monday deal going on today as well. So if I'm sure it'll pop up on their website if you type in Heart and Soil supplements. If you're familiar with Dr. Paul Saldino, he is, it's not his company. I don't know if he's just like an influencer for them or if he helped formulate them. I'm not really sure, but he is involved in some way, and he's the author of the Carnivore Code.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do some more, deep dive into that for you, because the reality is, and what I find is that pet parents go on, like, it's one of two journeys. Either something happens with them or their children or their husband, like with Dr. Katie Woodley, and you go down this path of finding holistic health and really getting yourself, your family really healthy, and then you look over at your pets and you're like, why am I feeding this crap to you, right? Like you get this light bulb moment. Or like me, something happens to one of your
Your
pets
pet.
and you go down
Mm-hmm.
this rabbit hole and you get all of your pets healthy, and then you're like, oh crap, I need to be healthy too. So like
Yeah.
one of these two things is going to happen to you.
Yep. Yep. That's usually how it goes. Yes, absolutely. Especially for pets that get sick. People are like, okay, I can spend fortune at the vet, or I can do things preemptively to avoid
Yes.
the the oncologist and the this and the
Mm-hmm.
that and the other. So I really do think that, you don't want to be the one who gets that horrible diagnosis and
Yeah.
then starts learning about your pet's food and how it influences their well-being and their longevity. You want to be somewhere in the middle where you're kind of like aware. That's why I think these free classes that the two crazy cat ladies are going to
Mm-hmm.
give us, this free education that Jessica's always offering. All these people are constantly sharing things that are so helpful, and you can take it or leave it, but at least it plants a seed, right? And you're a little bit more knowledgeable, and we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So when we know, we do better, right? We know better, we do better. So every time we learn a little something, it's just something else in our arsenal that we can use to protect our pets. And unless you have a home that's full of pets, you're fostering, really, it is doable for most people to just improve even slightly. And the payoff is definitely going to be there.
Absolutely.
Um,
So I think we said all we can say about this mysterious illness. Hopefully it's not so
Well,
mysterious anymore.
I will say this. One of the interviews that I saw with one of the veterinarians out of the University of New Hampshire said that he's received a bunch of cultures from other states, and it's going to take a few weeks to process them. So we should know within the next month more about this. Every single day, I'm sure we're going to see more stuff. More organizations are coming out and speaking about it, like the Miami-Dade Animal Services was speaking about it. People are interviewing. As a journalist, I know that I probably are going to be asked to like write more about this. And so we'll be interviewing more people. But the reality is everybody at this point is just like throwing spaghetti on a wall and seeing what sticks. I think those cultures are really going to be helpful in figuring out where we are. But right now, the focus should be lifestyle changes that just reduce your dog's exposure if possible.
Absolutely. I think, and like Connor Brady, I think is talking about it tomorrow. And so we're trying, I think everybody, especially in the healthy pet space, is trying to get more info. Oh, one more, actually, there was one other thing that I wanted to say. Just, this is obviously not going to.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Somebody's asking the name of the disease. It's not named yet. It's just a mystery upper respiratory dog illness is what I've seen it called.
Yeah. So this is definitely not going to, I don't want to say help as far as like, you know, like the oil of oregano is going to be like a natural antibiotic type thing. But if you're just looking to help give your pet some relief from a cough, there are two things that I like to recommend for people. Obviously, first talk to your veterinarian, because if you can get a diagnosis, that's going to be your best bet to find out a path to take. But for some relief with a cough, one thing you can do is brew some organic green tea and add some local raw honey to it and syringe that. That's going to help soothe the throat for your dog. And the organic green tea has tons of antioxidants and benefits for it, as well as, you know, the local raw honey is very, very soothing. And then, so we often think, and you might have mentioned this earlier about something, or when we were talking about gut health. So we typically think of slippery elm for digestion, but because when we mix slippery elm with water and we let it form this like gooey gel, and we probably, especially if your dog isn't feeling great, have to syringe it into their mouth, that gooey gel will coat the throat as well and help reduce some of that, like, you know, gravelly, itchy, like I want to, so those were two things that I did want to bring up just in case they help anybody.
Well, we will be back next Monday at this time. We just want to do a weekly pet roundup, which is just basically us talking about things that come across our desk or come across our radars. Like I said, the Two Crazy Cat Ladies, they have a that series for a week of cat nutrition. There are other people that we obviously talk to, follow, that are sharing stuff. So just stay on top of the new developments. Check in with us next week. We'll update you if there's anything. If not, we'll talk about something completely different. It's just whatever is in the news or whatever is on our minds that we're going to share with you all.
Yes. Awesome. Well, yes, back here next week, an hour earlier, because now we're an hour later. So an hour.
Yes.
Early.
At 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central. And then on Wednesday, I'm doing happy hour at 4. Ooh. So just join me on my page, Covered in Pet Hair. I only do that on Instagram. It's a little happy hour where I tell you who I interviewed, what I learned, and just chit chat with you over a glass of wine or a cocktail. And that will be this Wednesday. I'm trying to do that every Wednesday. So I'll be here on Mondays with Jessica at 3 Mountain Time, and on Wednesdays at 4 Mountain Time, because I record at 3. So then I get to come and tell you all the things that stood out from that interview. So just check in with me if you, and you don't have to drink with me, but you certainly can.
All right. Well, y'all have a great rest of your week. If you have any questions, feel free welcome to DM Isabel. I know I will post in my stories throughout the week if you have questions. suggestions for topics for the live. So make
Perfect.
sure to check our stories as well, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Thanks for